Good morning, my dear brothers and sisters. In my almost 25 years as a priest, I still encounter a misunderstanding, namely that the church is a community of perfect people. Muingon ko nga, simba pod, panagsa. And then the answer would be, dili ko musulod sa simbahan, Father. Kay kung musulod ko, basin muaso ang tibuok simbahan. Kay daghan kaayo ko og sala. And so this misunderstanding of people not going to church or feeling that they do not belong to the church because they are sinners is a grave misunderstanding. And our gospel today puts this misunderstanding to rest. Because the assumption of our gospel, which is taken from the 18th chapter of Matthew, the gospel which is often called the gospel for community building. And our gospel today from Matthew talks about conflict management. It talks about conflict resolution. And the assumption of our gospel is that there is conflict in the church. And because there is conflict, the premise is we can tend to hurt one another always. The things that go into the gospel are the most important teachings. And there is a reason why this gospel is read on Sundays. Because the assumption is we are not, and in fact, we are very far from perfect people. And that's why we have to manage conflict. There is a gospel about conflict resolution. That's the first assumption of our gospel today. The second assumption is this. The context of conflict management and reconciliation from the Gospel of Matthew is that we are a church community. And we're not just a church community bound together in the sacraments and in the love for each other, but we are a church community given a mission by Jesus Christ. Therefore, we are gathered in the church and we belong to the church not only because we want to build community and good relationships with one another. This is not just some kind of a socio-civic organization. The church exists to bring people together, but with a very specific purpose. And the purpose why the church is organized, is built up in the body of Jesus Christ is because we have a mission. And the mission of the church is to save souls and bring people into the fold of Jesus Christ. Therefore, the church exists in order to evangelize, to bring the good news to the poor, to the last, the least, and the lost, and even those who are not in any list. And so, because we have a mission, the task of bringing people to Jesus Christ, the enterprise of saving souls is an awesome mission. It's not just awesome, the obstacles are formidable. There's an author, an English author, his name is Clive Staples Lewis. Moingon siya, ang mga Kristiyano nga naningkamot pagpakabalaan o pagbuhat sa misyon sa Ginoo, they are the ones who are most tempted by the devil. In fact, in one of his books, he says, kung buutan ka nga tao, kanunay kang tintalon, because the devil assigns more than 10 demons to tempt you. And so, the challenge of our mission is formidable. And the only way that we can succeed in the mission of Jesus Christ is by staying together, by being a community. And together, we must collectively pool our resources so that the work of Christ and the mission of God can happen and can be fulfilled in our midst. In short, lisod ang atong mission. And the only way we're able to succeed is by joining forces always. And that's the reason why Jesus says you have to actively reconcile with one another. Because a house divided in itself is a house that will never ever succeed. If your family, if your office, if your school, if your company is divided, you will never ever be able to fulfill the mission by which you believe that you are tasked to do. And so these two are the contexts of our gospel today. Namely, that we are not perfect people, but we are, despite our imperfections, we are given a formidable task, a mission. And the only way by which we're able to succeed in this mission is by being bonded together, by working together. There's a cliche in English, it's very common: united we stand, divided we fall. And that's the premise of our gospel today, that we have to reconcile always with one another. And the nice thing about our gospel is that there's a very clear guidelines on conflict resolution. The first guideline, Jesus said, do not brood over an offense. Speak directly to the person, but privately. In short, the first step is very loaded. Don't brood over, ayaw iluom ang imong kasakit. Talk to the person. Talk to the person. Ayaw imarites. Ayaw i-blind item sa Facebook. Ayaw libaka. Talk to the person directly. But the third one is talk to the person privately. Ayaw pakaulawin na sa simbahan, imong tudloon, bayad na si imong utang. So don't brood over an offense, speak directly, but privately. And our first reading is very beautiful. From the prophet Ezekiel. The prophet says, we all have a responsibility to talk to our brothers and sisters who have committed errors. And sometimes we can be exasperated, especially if that person is a family member. Unya, kasing kwenta na nimo istoryahe, dili gyapon maminaw, gahig ulo. Will not change his or her ways. And sometimes we say, dili na lang ko mo tingog to keep the peace. Dili na lang ko mo confront so that aron walay gubot sa balay. And our first reading reminds us that our mission is to tell the person and never stop doing so, because at the end of the day, if the person does not listen to us, we have not condemned ourselves. The person has condemned he or himself or herself. The second step in our gospel today about conflict management and conflict resolution is this. If the person does not listen to us, seek the help of wise Christians, not just any Christian. Seek the help of wise Christian. Why do we put the word wise there? Because it's very clear in our gospel today. If it does not listen to you, take one or two of your brothers so that every fact may be established. Every fact. Therefore, we have to seek the help of wise Christians, the ones who are on the side of truth, not the ones who are on the side of fake news, or what they call today the managers of truth. I didn't know that truth can be managed nowadays. What kind of post are you going to post in Facebook? What half-truths are there, etc., etc. Seek the help of wise Christians, those Christians who are on the side of truth. And finally, if the person does not listen, seek the help of the church. And then, if the person does not listen to the church, Jesus said, treat him as you would a Gentile or a public sinner. And then we say, does that give us a permission for our cancel culture? Ato nang i-cancel siya sa atong social media. We cancel him or her from our phone book. In short, we treat the person as an outcast. But wait, let's look at the Bible. Let's look at the gospel, how Jesus treated the Gentiles and public sinners. How did Jesus treat the public sinners? The writer of this gospel, Matthew, was a public sinner. He was a tax collector. And how did Jesus treated Matthew? With compassion, with prayer, with forgiveness, with generosity. How does Jesus treated sinners and betrayers like Peter? When Jesus saw that Peter repented, he told Peter, do you love me? Feed my sheep. Jesus trusted even those who betrayed him. Is conflict management and conflict resolution an easy task? It is not. But the bottom line of our gospel today is that we have to work actively to be reconciled with one another. We cannot stop by saying, dili na ko magig-istorya sa akong brother or sa akong sister, kay nag-ilog yun mi sa among yuta. You will never be reconciled with my mother-in-law or sister-in-law because our differences are too great. You see, our mission is formidable. Our task is awesome. We owe it to ourselves, according to our second reading. Very beautiful. St. Paul said, you don't owe anything to each other except to love one another. Therefore, we owe it to each other to really love one another. That's our task. And now we know that from the perspective of Jesus and St. Paul, loving is not just an emotion, it is a decision. And sometimes we're discouraged with the church. We're discouraged with priests like me or even bishops. But the commandment of Jesus in our second reading today, St. Paul says, everything in the commandment can be summarized by this: love one another. And we owe it to one another to love each other. The reason is not emotional. The reason is our mission. If we don't bond together, if we don't unite, if we don't reconcile, the mission of saving souls are at stake. There's a writer who once said, the mission of saving souls is too crucial to leave it to the tele-evangelists, airy religious troubadours, and judgmental preachers. The mission of Jesus is lofty and awesome and formidable. Our challenges are huge. And the only way we're able to fulfill the task that Jesus has given us is to establish a community of love, a community of forgiving persons, a community of compassionate individuals who will go out, according to Pope Francis, to the moral and existential peripheries so that people may feel the salvific love and forgiveness of Jesus. Amen. Please rise.